What's going on, everyone? Eric here. Hope you're all doing good today. In this video, we're going to be covering the Gemilai Owl, a very cool little espresso machine. Before we get too into it, let's talk about a few things that I always beg of you. Please give me a like, please subscribe, maybe leave a comment, and of course affiliate links. If you do decide to get this machine or interested in any of the accessories I use, they're all linked below. Affiliate links help me finance the channel, and hopefully I can keep making gear reviews. Thank you so much. Before we get too deep into the weeds here, I want to mention that Gemilai did send me this machine. I requested that they send it to me to review. They said sure, no strings attached. I just get to make a review on it. So thanks for sending this over, Gemilai, and now I can either rip it apart or elevate it, whatever I want to do. Cool, let's go. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about this funky little espresso machine. I think the first thing we have to talk about is how it looks. It doesn't look like your average $400 espresso machine. It's got a very distinct look, kind of like a retro, futuristic space machine kind of look. It also has a very prominent group head that sticks out, reminiscent of an E61 espresso machine, which are usually higher end machines. E61 machines are machines that have a temperature regulation through which hot water kind of flows through a tube here, therefore keeping the group head hot. This does not have that, but it does look like one and it does function as one. So before we get too into that kind of like technical espresso jargon stuff, let's just go through the basics of this machine. Number one, we're going to talk about accessories. What does it come with? Okay, it comes with a portafilter, a little portafilter handle here. It comes with a double basket. This basket here is not pressurized, so this is going to be a basket that will only work with an espresso grinder. It also comes with a single basket if you're into those. It comes with a little plastic tamper with a stainless steel foot on the bottom. It comes with a little scrub brush for your group head, which I think is great. You want to keep your group head clean. In fact, this is the only machine that I've gotten that has ever come with one of these. So this is really, really cool. It comes with a little screwdriver because a lot of people aren't so comfortable popping these out. And then this is just a little screwdriver to help you pop out your portafilter basket, which is great because you do want to keep the inside of this clean as well. Also, we get a little rubber blank basket, so you're going to put that inside of your portafilter basket, and you're going to use that to back flush your machine, make the inside of the group head a little bit cleaner. And it comes with a little scoopy doop for scooping out your coffee. All right, cool. Those are the accessories. A steaming pitcher is not included, though sometimes I've seen they run promotions so they do have a steaming pitcher included, so just keep your eye open for that. Let's get all this stuff out of the way. Okay, now we've covered the accessories. Let's talk about the functions of this machine. This is a thermoblock style machine. So thermoblock means it's an instant heating system compared to a traditional boiler, which is literally a boiler. It's a little tank of hot water and steam that fills up, and that's where your hot water comes from. Thermoblock is kind of like a heated coil. It doesn't take as long to heat up, and once it's hot, it gives you pretty much hot water on demand. You don't have to worry about depleting the source. You don't have to worry about the boiler getting empty. So anyway, this is a single thermoblock machine. It functions as a single boiler, so you can pull shots or you can steam milk. You cannot do both at the same time. You have to do one or the other. Switching between steaming and pulling shots does take a few seconds, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. So you got some programmable buttons on the top. You got a programmable single shot, programmable double shot. You got a manual shot button, which is basically on and off water flow. And then you have the button to switch to steaming mode. For your steamer, you have, instead of a button, you have a little handle, which is a really, really nice look, nice aesthetic, and also feels good to use. We've got a analog pressure gauge on here, so you can see how your shots are running. You can see the pressure range, which is good. Give you a little, feedback on how your shots are running, how your grind size is. That's always nice to have. And then you've got your little interface display here, which will function as a shot timer and also allow you to access some of the kind of more advanced features. So the more advanced features, that is, you have temperature adjustment. You can adjust your temperature of your brewing temperature within 2 degrees Fahrenheit. So you're going to be, you're able to go jump from 200 to 202 to 204 or the other way. Higher temperatures for lighter roasts and lower temperatures for darker roasts. So that's a really, really cool function to have. Now you also have the ability to adjust your pre-infusion time. You can't adjust the amount of liquid that is coming out for pre-infusion, and you can't adjust the pressure for pre-infusion or anything like that. It's not that advanced, but you can adjust the time for pre-infusion, which I think is great because I've always felt a lot of semi-automatic machines like this that have pre-infusion incorporated don't give you enough time for the actual pre-infusion to do much. So you get about 7 milliliters or 7 grams of water dispersed from the machine when you when the pre-infusion starts, and either of the programmable shot buttons have automatic pre-infusion. So when you do your pre-infusion, you can choose how many seconds you want them to pause after adding that water. And I put about 10 seconds in there, which I think is a good amount of time for the water to saturate the puck. So if you're not familiar with pre-infusion, it just means it adds a little bit of water to the puck before adding full pressure. And that just allows your espresso grind to get saturated with water. Hopefully that will give you a more even extraction. Also, it's a fresh espresso. It's going to give it a little bit of time to degas, so there's no turbulence of gas trying to escape from your espresso when you're pulling your shot. Anyway, I've set mine to 10 seconds, which I think is a good time. You can always play with that. You can do longer or shorter depending on the coffee. Just another fun variable that you have the ability to use on this machine, which is, most machines don't have that at all, especially not machines that are relatively inexpensive. You also have this great steam wand here that is pretty articulate, goes up and down to the left a little bit. It doesn't go much to the right because they don't want you to bang into the group head, and it has a 2-hole steam wand tip. So basically, for me, I think this is one of the stars of the show for this machine is the steam wand. It functions great. It's got a great angle. It's really articulate. It steams very, very fast for a thermoblock machine. You're going to be able to steam about like 5 ounces of milk or so, 6 ounces of milk, basically your cappuccino size amount of milk. You're going to be able to do that in about 40 seconds, which is great. Really easy to get good texture, really easy to get a good angle on there. I really, really do like the steam wand. It works great in action. And yeah, as far as the quality of the steamed milk that you're going to get out of this, no complaints at all. I did mention that this has an E61 looking group head, and it is not an E61 group head, but it functions as one in theory. It has a thermo kind of coil in here that does allow this to get nice and hot. So when you turn on your machine, even though it does heat up to temperature relatively quickly, you're going to want to leave your portafilter in here and let everything get good and hot. I think if you want the best thermo stability, consistent temperature, leave everything there for about 10 minutes, let the portafilter get nice and hot, let the group head get nice and hot, and then you're going to have, even better espresso. Another plus about this E61 looking group head is that it should take E61 accessories. It has your standard 2-ear 58mm basket, which is what E61 group heads take, and any E61 style portafilter should work well in this machine. That's really, really cool. Getting a little bit deeper into the actual way this machine is built, this does not have an overpressure valve, so that's your responsibility to kind of keep your eye on the pressure, make sure you're not choking out the pump by grinding way too fine. And basically, if you're not getting anything out, if you've ground it so fine that there's basically no drips, you're going to want to cut off the shot right away because you don't want to choke out the pump. The pump itself is a 15-bar Italian espresso pump. That's really, really nice. For the pressure release, after you pull a shot, it has a 3-way solenoid valve. If you're not familiar, 3-way solenoid valve means that the water can flow more than one direction, basically. If you're thinking about you're getting water that's going from the thermo coil to the group head, it also allows it to flow out back into the drip tray where it will flush out some of the water after you pull a shot, dispersing the pressure, which is nice because that means when you do actually, after you pull your shot, if you've ever used a machine that doesn't have a 3-way solenoid valve or an overpressure valve, you have to wait a couple seconds because if you don't, you'll pop this out and then water will just gush out everywhere. This guy automatically releases the pressure. It releases a little bit of water into the drip tray, and yeah, there you go. Okay, so getting into the performance of this machine a little bit. So like I said, this functions like a single boiler machine. So this is a great alternative to something like the Gaggia Classic Pro, which is a really, really great machine for people who want to get into espresso making, really want a hands-on experience, but are okay with working with a single boiler because of the weird little kind of finicky things that you have to deal with when you're working with a single boiler machine. So first things first, this guy takes about 1 minute and 10 seconds to heat up. So when you turn it on, it takes about 1 minute and 10 seconds before it's ready to have hot water for your espresso. But like I mentioned before, the group head is heated, so you kind of want to let things warm up really good anyway. So ideally you're going to need 10 minutes. That's for your optimal performance. But of course, that's up to you. If you want to switch to steaming mode, it takes about 50 seconds more to warm up to steaming mode. So you'd hit the steaming mode button, you'd wait 50 seconds, and then you'd be ready to steam your milk. Now, a lot of people with single boiler machines know that because the temperature needs to be hotter for steaming mode, no matter what machine you're using, it does take a little bit of time to build up to that. Because of that little quirky thing, a lot of people like to steam their milk first because then just after you steam your milk, you can go ahead and pull your shots with no lag time in between. That doesn't work for everybody's workflow, but for most people who are used to using a single boiler, that seems to be the way that they approach it. Now, just like a boiler style espresso machine, because the temperature is so hot on this, you do need to flush your system out after you do your steaming, because it's so hot it's going to just scald your espresso if you don't. So basically, after you steam your milk, you can just flush this out for about 10 seconds or so, and then the temperature will be back down to where it needs to be for espresso extraction. So that's kind of finicky workaround that you have when you're using a single boiler, or in this case, single thermal block style espresso machine. So for me, I've been playing with this machine a bunch. I've had it on my countertop for about a month, and I don't find it to be that cumbersome, that big of a deal to kind of switch between. I primarily do espresso black, but I do make cappuccinos now and then for fun. And both ways, whether it is just pulling your shot first and then letting it heat up to steam and then steaming your milk, works out okay. I don't necessarily like my shots of espresso hanging around that long, but because the steaming is so fast, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Or if you'd rather, you could steam your milk first, then flush the machine and switch back to espresso mode. So yeah, that's basically probably the biggest kind of finicky thing about the machine that some people might find as a snag, is that slow time between switching between steaming and pulling shots. But that's pretty standard for most single boiler style espresso machines that have this kind of power and this kind of performance. Like I said, I've been using this espresso machine for about a month. I've had it on my countertop, pulling lots of shots of different kinds of espresso, doing all sorts of experiments with it. I will say that overall, I have enjoyed my experience. I think it makes great shots of espresso. I really, really like that you can adjust the temperature. I really, really had fun allowing that pre-infusion time to be a little bit longer. I feel like a lot of machines really could benefit from a longer pre-infusion time. I think that the temperature stability really, really makes my shots consistent. I know my shots are going to taste the same one after another. The steam wand is so nice, such a pleasure to work with. I really, really do enjoy steaming milk on this. It's got so much more power than most thermal block machines, a lot more power than any Breville out there, a lot more power than any Casa Brews out there. It's just a really, high performing steam machine. So if you're really into latte art, if you really, really want to get better at latte art, as long as you can handle that kind of 40-second lag time between heating from espresso to steaming milk, then I don't think you'll have any problems. I will say though that for the price point, and I've mentioned this a couple times, a lot of people who want to get into espresso, who want a more hands-on experience, who want espresso as a hobby, not espresso as just a way to get a quick cappuccino, a way to get quick coffee or whatever, people often gravitate towards the Gaggia series, the Gaggia Classic series, because there's so much you can do with it. You can mod those machines. They give you a very, they're just great machines for learning how to make espresso by hand, and they're relatively affordable. I would say this is a great alternative to that. It's just more stable. It already has the PID built in. It has a 3-way solenoid valve. The steam wand is a lot more powerful, and you don't have to worry about running out of steam power like you do with a Gaggia or other boiler style espresso machines. I could definitely say that this is, if you're not planning on doing some really, really big modifications, like people do crazy things to their Gaggia, add computer boards, et cetera, if you just want a machine that's plug and play, ready to go, that will give you temperature control, great steaming power, ability to do pre-infusion, also has a heated group head, allows you to do 58 millimeter E61 accessories, this is a great option. I really, really do. I'm pretty into this machine. I like it a lot, I really have to say. Now, of course, every machine has their negatives. I think the biggest negative about this machine is the build quality. It's about 8 kilos. It doesn't feel cheap on your countertop, but it's definitely lightweight. When you're putting your portafilter in here, it slides around a lot. So there is that. So the build quality, it's not a heavy duty machine. The plating is a little bit thin on it. There is quite a bit of plastic in this machine. The water tank is kind of thin feeling when it comes to the plastic. The drip tray is very, very flimsy as far as the plastic quality. I don't feel like I'm going to break this machine. I don't feel like anything bad's going to happen to it. I do, if I'm lifting it up and carrying it around, I have a hard time finding a good way to do that, because I don't want to shift the water tank without spilling water everywhere. I don't want to hold it from anywhere near the drip tray, because the drip tray is, not very sturdy. So I don't know if I want to hold it by these two little rails, because I feel like they might not be that secure. So, not everyone moves machines around the house as much as I do. I'm testing different machines. I'm bringing things in and out of my kitchen. But I will say that it is a little bit lightweight. And I guess any espresso machine below $1,000 probably is going to run into that problem. So that is probably the biggest negative about it. Next negative, I don't know if this is necessarily a negative for everyone, but this is not a machine that is really for someone who doesn't want an espresso hobby. This isn't as beginner friendly as other machines that are just kind of like plug and play, ready to go, easy to use, like a Breville Bambino or other entry level style espresso machines like this. It's better to have a little bit of espresso knowledge when you're using this. It does take a little bit more technique because it's doing things like temperature adjustment, pre-infusion adjustment, that kind of temperature surfing, as we call it, kind of jumping between the temperature for the steam wand and going back to the temperature for the brew. These things are all like, they're not advanced techniques, but they do take a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more time to learn. So it is not as beginner friendly of a machine. This is more for someone who is, medium level espresso nerd who definitely doesn't mind that hands-on experience. Another negative is the included accessories are a little cheap. I really don't love this tamper. In fact, I didn't even really use it. It's just very plasticky and lightweight, and I've already had other 58 millimeter tampers around, so I kind of foregoed using this thing. The actual portafilter here itself, the actual head here, the part that attaches to the group head, is really, really well built and heavy. The handle here feels very cheap. The handle itself is very plasticky and just kind of feels cheap. So I would probably be replacing this really, really quick if I was going to keep using this machine all the time. So all in all, those are the negatives to me, but I think the positives greatly outweigh the negatives. I really enjoy the shots that I pull on this. I found it really easy to adjust the parameters. Steaming milk with this was a joy. Getting a little bit back into latte art while playing with this machine was really, really fun. So, for the price, for $400-ish, depending on if they're on sale or not, I think it's a high-performing machine. It's a really, really fun machine to use, and definitely a great alternative to those other kind of $400, $500 espresso machines that are out there for people who want espresso as a hobby. Like I said, Gaggia Classic Pro, Bambino Plus, machines like that. This is a great alternative to those. So I think that's all I've got for you guys today. I'm going to make another video next week going into the grinder that this company makes as well. If you're thinking about buying this machine, you already have it in your cart in Amazon, consider taking it out of your cart and then using my affiliate link down below. That way I can actually, finance this channel. No pressure. But thanks again. I really appreciate you guys watching it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.